Hi everyone, this is Tim. Today I want to talk about how criticals work in Arcanum. Sounds like a simple question. I completely went down the rabbit hole in Arcanum's code. I think I mentioned once that Arcanum was very much our everything and the kitchen sink game. And I think every single idea that anyone ever had about criticals, whether it was combat or not, whether it was success or failure, went into Arcanum. So if this is something that interests you, keep listening because I have an awful lot of stuff to go over. Okay, so let's talk first about when you use a skill, any skill in Arcanum, what's the chance it succeeds? Okay, that is based on your skill level. So the more ranks you have, the more chance it has to succeed. Training also affects it, and you have to read. Every skill has different um, effects specifically to that skill. For any skill, though, if it's used at anything at range, if it can be, especially like a ranged weapon or something you're throwing, that range is adjusted by the users. I'm going to say attacker. I'm going to say attacker and victim, or attacker and target. The attacker's perception, so that decreases penalties for range. Obstacles can decrease your chance of success, like if you're trying to shoot someone on the other side of a bush or a non-solid fence or something. They can be marked that way. Those props are marked a certain way. And you basically think of something you can see through that, but partially blocks your vision. Lighting helps every skill. Good lighting helps every skill and decreases every skill, except sneak, which it does the reverse to. So bright lighting, it's harder to sneak in. It's easier to sneak when it's dark. Similarly, some creatures are marked as having night vision. So they see better when it's dimmer, and they see worse when it's bright for use of their skills. Also, the awareness of the attack or the use, I should say, can affect the skill. For example, if you're using stealth and the person's unaware of you, that increases your chance of success. Sleeping people get a plus 30 across the board of any skill being used on them. I looked that one up and I'm like, okay. Also, if you're using a combat skill, then if your strength is below the weapon's minimum strength requirement, penalties. If the user of the skill is blind or is crippled in either arm, that reduces the skill's chance of success. For some skills, like dodge, even having crippled legs reduces your chance of success. Now, there are bonuses if the target's paralyzed or stunned or prone, or as I mentioned, sleeping. There are very specific bonuses and penalties that are like situational dependent depending on the skill. For example, if you're sneaking and for some reason you have silence, either a spell or you have move silent boots or something, you get a bonus. If you're trying to pick a lock on a container or door, those locks have penalties that apply to your skill because it's a hard lock. Finally, if you try to use a magic item or spell on a tech target, or vice versa, a tech skill or item on a magic target, that will introduce a flat chance to fail. So it's independent of your skill. Before the game even tries your skill, it'll go, I'm going to check, see if you failed. Because of that whole magic versus tech dichotomy in the game. Okay. So now let's assume the roll happened. What is the chance that that roll is going to be a critical success? Well, it has to be a success, first of all. The chance it will become critical is proportional to the skill. The better your skill, after all those penalties and bonuses I just mentioned, the better you're going to have a chance of getting a critical success. Some magic items increase the chance that their user gets a critical success. Sometimes it's a magic weapon increasing your chance of getting a critical success on a hit, but sometimes it can just be I'm wearing a hat. I get more critical successes with any of my skills when I wear this hat. Some situations increase the chance of a critical success. For example, if you have master level training in backstabbing, if you have master level in sneak and you backstab, way better chance of getting a critical success. Some status effects increase and decrease chances of critical successes. Some skills, some combat skills, all combat skills. If you do a called shot, remember that lowered your chance of actually getting a hit, but that same proportion that it lowered the chance of getting a hit increases the chance if you do hit that it becomes a critical. That's the trade-off. The reason you try for the tricky called shots. Fate points can just give the player an automatic critical success in whatever they picked for the fate point. And then finally, the chance of getting a critical success can, with all those adjustments I just mentioned, can drop below 0 or go above 100. If they drop below 0, it's not going to happen. If it goes above 100, it always happens. Now, let's compare what I just said to the chance of getting a critical failure if you fail. So the chance of the critical failure is inversely proportional to the skill that was calculated with all the bonuses and penalties. The chance of a critical failure goes up more if you're doing an attack and the weapon is damaged. Some magic items increase the chance of critical failure. Again, if it's a magic weapon, it can increase the chance of your critical failure if you fail, or it can just be an item that you're wearing and it increases the chance of critical failure with skills. Some status effects, again, can raise and lower critical failure chance. If tech items are used by someone with a magic aptitude, so you're trying to use one of the tech weapons maybe, and your aptitude is positive in the magic direction, you can have a critical failure with a chance proportional to the tech power of the item and your magic aptitude. Similarly, if a target critically succeeds at dodge, that can cause the attacker to critically fail their hit. And that goes up with training. The player can also spend fate points to force an enemy to critically fail. If the critical failure of an attack causes a subsequent hit, for example, if on the chart you roll, my critical failure is I hit myself or I hit a friend, half of those hits are automatically upgraded to critical hits on yourself or your friend. And then here's the kicker. The chance to critically fail can go over 100, meaning it will always happen, but it can never, ever, for any reason, drop below 2. Unless training says you will never critically fail at the skill or in a particular situation. Because then it never even called the function to see if critical failure should happen. But if a critical failure is being checked for, it can never, ever, ever be less than 2%, which means 1 in 50 of all failures become critical failures. So finally, what are the effects of a critical hit, a critical success, or a critical failure? First of all, training, like I mentioned, can adjust that. So you can there are some things that can't happen if you are highly trained in a skill. Some critical failures are ameliorated. Some critical successes are always forced. I'll give you an example. Critical success is very skill dependent. If you heal someone and you get a critical success, you can heal more than one, like crippled limb. If they have a crippled left arm and right arm, you might heal them both. If you disarm a trap and you get a critical success, you will get parts off that trap. When you're doing if you have a critical success on an attack, then the effect is based on the creature you're hitting. Some creatures can't be critically have a critical success effect in a certain way. It also depends on where you hit. For example, if you hit someone in the head, there's a chance you might knock them unconscious. If you hit them in the arms and legs, there's a chance you're going to cripple that arm or leg. That chance of doing the crippling is adjusted by if they're wearing armor in that location, that armor can have an adjustment to that. So some helmets are like, if you wear this helmet, your chance of getting knocked unconscious by any critical hit to the head is reduced. Similarly, a critical fail depends on the skill. For lockpicks, you can get your lockpicks jammed in the lock, and now only a key will unjam it. If you're pickpocketing someone and you critically fail, you get caught. If you're trying to heal someone and you get a critical failure, not only do you not do anything, but you lose extra supplies because it takes supplies, bandages, and stuff to heal someone. And then similar to critical success, if you fail with a combat skill, with an attack, the failure is determined by the weapon. So some weapons can take damage or break. Some weapons can hit you. Some weapons can hit a friend. And if it's the range, they can check range. Some weapons explode. Some weapons get dropped. So it's a chart that's based on the weapon itself. I think that's everything. I dug through all the code. So that's, I think, a complete list of everything that can happen with critical successes and failures, both inside in combat and out in Arcanum. Whew.